Chris, and this is my saving this 1974 Sun Beetle video. I thought the car was completely rusted out because of this corner, and it turned out it's not. So that's the worst part of the car. That's what we're gonna be fixing in this video. Blue tape is where they had crashed it, and they cut it and replaced that whole front nose. You can see how it's welded right there, and it's rusted out. It was hit right here, pushed all this in, they popped it back out, just floated the whole thing with Bondo. But as you can see, never sealing that off correctly. It was all mangled up, rusted this whole corner out. The best thing is to find a donor car, in which I did. All right, and the donor piece that we're getting is actually coming from another 1974 Sun Beetle, but check this side out. Oh man, sad. But check this piece out. Good. Nice. So this was rusted out, and I did mangle it up. I want you to see the plate. We would have had to replace this anyway. This is pretty bad, and I don't think that's gonna hold those door screws. It's just rusted too much. But let's look at a good one up here. This is very interesting. This is what's holding it in. That's how a good one should look. I just want you to see that, and it's just, that holds it in place. This wraps around. It's just kind of bent over. It's not welded. We're just tin canning it off. You don't have to pull it all the way back, just so you can see that. We're gonna remove this piece. This is tack welded in there. This one is sturdy enough. It has 2 layers, this piece right here, and then the hinge plate piece in here. So it's a total of 3 pieces. 1, inner, 2, and then the inner quarter panel or inner fender 3. Got the screwdriver in there. This is all I'm doing to remove it. Just hitting it with a hammer. And then kind of spreading it out. Then I'm taking some channel locks, slowly, carefully. That's all we got to open it until we can see that piece. He cut it out exactly the way I wanted it cut. No problems. Good. So in case you don't know, in Houston, Texas, they have a whole bunch of Volkswagen Beetle parts, and he wants to sell as many as he can. Check that out. Ready to go. Let's get out of here. You know, after studying this a little bit more, I realized that they had replaced that front end on it, and then it got hit again. So it's very important that if you're doing a Beetle, you have to have that hood, because that line right there is the most visible and critical line on the whole car. And you can see it has a gap right there, but the car was hit again. But I think that one was welded on there wrong to start with. This one is not as bad, but this side was hit worse. This side's crunched in more. So I think we're safe now to go ahead and at least cut where they welded the orange piece on. You see what happened? We have a whole bunch of little spot welds right there. I had no idea those were boxed like that. So now I'm gonna go ahead and separate what I need off of that piece. So we're gonna attempt to remove these parts back here. I just wanted to show you the bottom of the Beetle in case you've never seen it down here. It has 2 drain holes right here. So if you have a Beetle that's not rusted out, you might want to get a wire or a needle, poke in there, because my 72 has a rust hole right here, and you can see this one is not rusted out yet. So I'm just carefully trying to remove what I don't need from the inside. Spot welds look super tiny, but they actually have a big footprint. It's extremely hard to get them out without drilling all the way through, but we're practicing. See, we just have to ease them because I need this piece right here for the car down there. And then you got to locate them. That's a little difficult too. If you do that kind of slow, you'll start to see it break the weld. So let me go ahead and see if I can do it. Moment of truth. I think I have it separated finally. Beautiful. Mine was rusted out down here and I destroyed the bottom of the hinge. So I may have to cut some of this out. See, we didn't go through. We're gonna have to pretty much like right around here because we can't start fitting that piece until I repair this bottom hinge that I screwed up. So now we have to get these parts to go in there and fit perfect. So you can see the piece already wants to go in there. We just have to figure out how to cut it out. I was using that spot weld drill bit and it would never break free because there was a third spot weld I didn't know about. So I ended up drilling too far. So I'm just letting you know why those big giant holes are there. But I was gonna put alignment holes anyway. So all this metal is good right here, so we're gonna end up cutting this one back. But you see how the piece fits in there perfect. See how this little foot actually sits on the floor of the car. We have a little bit of trimming on this piece, but check that out. So let me go ahead and prep all this stuff and we'll get it ready to tack in there. So everything in this area is sandblasted. We have these pieces sandblasted and ready to go. We're gonna start by taking one of these. You get these at Northern Tool, and we're gonna use this to align and position our piece. When you're doing this repair, do not weld the bottom first. So thing to note on this, you see how this little weld is cracked? Well, I ground it away to expose it. This line right here needs to be pushed over. That's flat right there. See how it comes out? So we're gonna go ahead and start by tacking the top. And see now with it tacked in like that, we can push this whole thing over. It's gonna take some force to do it, but it's gonna go. We have to get that even. So notice that we didn't put a straight edge on this one. That's because this right here doesn't matter. I want you to see right here on the factory, this is actually beat up. It's because that's how they're gonna adjust the door hinge on the bottom before they put this piece like we're doing right here. So cars from the factory, they don't adjust the doors with shims. This hinge goes straight on there, and from the factory, they beat it in this way or beat it in that way just a little bit to get it perfect. You only have adjustments on this car kind of like that. You don't have adjustments like this and that on the Beetle. So just as I'm ready to weld the hinge plate in there, I'm trying to figure out how in the world I'm gonna get this welded because all of that is paper thin. So if your Beetle has that look in there, all this is shot and all of it's gonna have to be replaced. That's what it's gonna look like on the inside. My 72 has a hole right there. So you see the line and what we're gonna have to cut out. So that piece right there, I got this from J-Buzz. It did have the inner plate. You could make it work. They sell this piece also for like $18.95, and you can see it's a good piece. It's legit, it fits in there. So let me go ahead and cut this piece out and we'll get ready to start tacking. So I was actually scared to cut the whole thing because I didn't know what was gonna happen. Now I see that you can. You are safe to go ahead and chop the bottom. We're gonna show the way we get the measurements and this here in a little bit, but let's tack this up. So let me get this thing welded up and we'll get ready to push it over in position and talk about all that. So now we gotta figure out how to push this whole thing over that way, and we're gonna put a couple of tacks on this piece. We're not gonna do it right here because we're gonna bend this in and out if we have to. See how that's perfectly flush right there. All right, finally getting used to this welder a little bit. The problem was the freaking drive wheel on there. So every time I'd go to weld, it wouldn't push enough wire on there. That little roll drive in there that the wire rides in, because you can't have the tension too tight on there. I didn't think about that. I'm gonna make a video on welding sheet metal when I get the hang of it, but there's so many little things that nobody talks about in any video. So we got that tacked up. Hopefully when we release it, it's gonna stay right there. Let's just witness it. Come on, it stayed there. Beautiful, man, look at that. Okay, so that's very important that that's flush right there. So it's 37 and 9/16. Look, it's 37 and 9/16. You know, use the primer of your choice. I'm gonna use this until it's just running all the way down. Stuff does a real good job. We're just gonna spray all up in there. See how it's running out. So see, that alignment hole is perfect. So we just have to get that welded back in there. When we're ready to put doors on there, don't forget your little screw plates. That rusty primer decided to die. Use whatever primer you want. I don't really care what brand I use. I just want something on there. So make sure this thing can move around. So you see, it's just a piece of wood with a sheetrock screw in there so we can fine adjust it. And then it goes exactly where the hinge mounts. So it's a fixed measurement. And you see how it slides in there? Perfectly straight. And we have 37 and 9/16 on the top. On this Volkswagen Beetle, it is the same on the top and bottom hinge. The doors are parallel on both edges right there. So we're gonna do the same thing right here, just where the door gap goes. And then we're hoping it's the same or super duper close. I have not even started to adjust this and it fits in there perfect. Now, what is critical right here? This is the bottom hinge. You can adjust it with shims, they sell them. But if this piece right here is too much forward, it's gonna drop your door and you're just going off of that body line right there. And that's the only line you need to adjust your door. Don't go off of anything else, because when that line right there is adjusted, the line at the bottom of the door is gonna be perfect. So this is an empty door shell. I'm just taking my hand right here and I'm kind of going through this motion. So as we lift up, you can see that gap. So we can bolt in this range, and you can see that that looks good right there. So you don't have to buy special shims. You can use thin sheet metal or aluminum cans. Believe it or not, you can cut the aluminum cans out and stack them up and get you a real fine adjustment right there. And there is room in there to shim. Okay, but the truth is we don't have any screws in there yet. We need to go ahead and get the screws in there. So since we have this piece cut out right here, it is a little flimsy when you put the door on. So we have it braced up with the pipe. You're gonna know that's in the right position because of the door gap right here, which looks fine. So I was looking at my 72 and the door gaps are not perfect on it. This line on my 72 is not perfect on it, but the doors close very well. They're not loose. Okay, you see how we got this one. Horizontally, that's all you look at. If you get that line perfect, the door is gonna be perfect. And then vertical, you're just looking down here, using your judgment. It's smaller at the bottom. But if we put that a 1/16 of an inch too tight, like it is, when we're adjusting our doors, we can take a big hammer and boom, and just move it over that 1/16 of an inch if we have to. On the hinges, you have a little bitty gap, just like that. On the top, all this checks out. This line right here is not even with that line right there. So this gap right here, it is not important. You can adjust this gap however you want, big or little. As long as it's not touching the door, just leave it alone. Don't worry about any of this unless it just truly, truly stands out. Just get this line perfect and make this line look even. So as long as you can open and close the door, you're in pretty good shape. Notice we still have not welded this part right here because we got to fit the front quarter piece on there, and then I can give it a final bump this way or that way. And that's what those holes are there, so I can put some hooks in there or a cable and bam, and pull it out, in which you could use the screw holes, but that way we can align it live with the door on it. You take the door gap super serious, because there's nothing worse than a car that somebody worked on and your door gaps are trash. So we have the door back off. Now we're ready to fit this piece. It was tack welded, and then they brazed with a brass rod and a torch that gap closed. So we're gonna slowly grind and cut this piece away so it fits in there perfect. So we got that cut back. This piece is ready to go on, but we have to cut this side on both of them. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna find a center between those two dots. We have those two dots right there. Just make sure you cut it a little bit long. Let me get that piece ready. Well, if you made it this far in the video, I want to personally thank you for watching. We're going to be doing fabrication videos on this channel for 2024. We are going to wide body the Datsun, make that thing look awesome, and also my dually project. I haven't forgot about that. They're all in here and they're all going to get done this year. So I bought a 72 Beetle on August 15th, and I noticed that nobody likes my Beetle videos. So those how-to videos, I'm probably going to put them on my other channel, and we're going to focus on more like episodes from now on this channel. That's why I changed the name. That's why I'm in the shop now. Everything is going smooth. So we are about to fit that piece on, and hopefully it works out. But let's talk about this car. I bought it as a parts car. I was about to chop this thing up, and I said to myself, let me go ahead and get myself back in welding mode and this kind of work mode, because I haven't done this work in 10 years. I haven't welded in 4 or 5 years. You saw that mess right there, but we're getting better. This work is a lot more difficult than you think it is, because there's all these angles and stuff that you don't even think about. So that piece is cut out a little bit long, so that's not going to fit good on that side. But if everything worked out like it was supposed to, this piece should snap right in there perfect. Oh my God, it fit in there. So that is so beautiful, satisfying seeing that line fit perfect. It's a little popped up because of the other side. So I've been making this video for 2 weeks. That's why we're gonna have to cut it short. The next video, we're gonna focus on how you get this thing lined up so that line looks perfect on both sides. But you see how that piece fit in there almost perfect. I cannot believe how it just popped in there. So that Beetle was wrecked too. So we're gonna have to straighten up this piece a little bit. But you see how it looks like a normal car now. So I cut that piece out because it was smashed. I'm gonna carefully beat that with a hammer and dolly. Try to straighten that out, and I don't think that's gonna work. So on this clip, we're gonna pull that piece out and use it, but I did have to buy the floor. So I have a 1972 Beetle at my house. I still haven't even made it the official review on it. Been driving it around. These cars are very addictive because of how small they are and the weight and just the looks and the way people react. People love these cars. You just have to get over kind of looking goofy in it sometimes, but I could care less. I honestly can't explain how I feel, because I was this close to chopping this car up with a Sawzall, and I was just gonna scrap it and keep the frame. Once I started taking parts off of it, I realized the car was not rusted out. It's not rusted out anywhere. It does have some issues right here, but that's a Beetle thing. But the majority of the car is 100% rust-free. It turned out this is a 1974 Sun Beetle. I have a set of the sport wheels for it. Not sure what we're gonna do with this car, but it's going to be something off-road. The next video that I upload is not gonna be something off subject. It's gonna be continuing this project until we can just have it looking like a car again. So if you enjoy, please like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.